Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, the United Lodge of Theosophists. As you may know, we meet in Bethesda, Maryland, every Sunday from 11 to 12, and every other Sunday we also meet to have a roundtable discussion. Today, I'll talk on the Theosophical New Year, the declaration from the United Lodge of Theosophists. The policy of this lodge is independent devotion to the cause of theosophy, without professing attachment to any theosophical organization. It is loyal to the great founders of the theosophical movement, but does not concern itself with dissensions or differences of individual opinion. The work it has on hand and the end it keeps in view are too absorbing and too lofty to leave it the time or inclination to take part in side issues. The work and that end is the dissemination of the fundamental principles of the philosophy of theosophy and the exemplification in practice of those principles through a truer realization of the self, a profounder conviction of universal brotherhood. It holds that the unassailable basis for union among theosophists, wherever and however situated, is similarity of aim, purpose, and teaching, and therefore has neither constitution, bylaws, nor officers, the sole bond between its associates being that basis. And it aims to disseminate this idea among theosophists in the furtherance of unity. It regards as theosophists all who are engaged in the true service of humanity, without distinction of race, creed, sex, condition, or organization, and it welcomes to its association all those who are in accord with its declared purposes and who desire to fit themselves, by study and otherwise, to be the better able to help and teach others. The true Theosophists belong to no cult or sect, yet belongs to each and all. The following is the form signed by the associates of the United Lodge of Theosophists. Being in sympathy with the purposes of this lodge, as set forth in its declaration, I hereby record my desire to be enrolled as an associate, it being understood that such association calls for no obligation on my part other than that which I myself determine. The light of the path. Before the eyes can see, they must be incapable of tears. Before the ear can hear, it must lose its sensitiveness. Before the voice can speak in the presence of the masters, it must have lost the power to wound. Before the soul can stand in the presence of the masters, its feet must be washed in the blood of the heart. Number 1, kill out ambition. Number 2, kill out desire of life. Number 3, kill out desire of comfort. Number 4, work as those who are ambitious. Respect life as those who desire it. Be happy as those who live for happiness. Seek in the heart the source of evil and expunge it. It lives fruitfully in the heart of the devoted disciple as well as in the heart of the man of desire. Only the strong can kill it out. The weak must wait for its growth, its fruition, its death. And it is a plant that lives and increases throughout the ages. It flowers when the man has accumulated unto himself innumerable existences. He who will enter upon the path of power must tear this thing out of his heart. And then the heart will bleed, and the whole life of the man seem to be utterly dissolved. This ordeal must be endured. It may come at the first step of the perilous ladder which leads to the path of life. It may not come until the last. But zero discipline, remember that it has to be endured, and fasten the energies of the soul upon the task. Live neither in the present nor the future, but in the eternal. This giant weed cannot flower there. This blot upon existence is wiped out by the very atmosphere of eternal thought. Kill out desire for sensations. Kill out the hunger for growth. Yet stand alone and isolated, because nothing that is embodied, nothing that is conscious of separation, nothing that is out of the eternal can aid you. Learn from sensation and observe it, because only so can you commence the science of self-knowledge and plant your foot on the first steps of the ladder. Grow as the flower grows, unconsciously, but eagerly anxious to open its soul to the air. So must you press forward to open your soul to the eternal. It must be the eternal that draws forth your strength and beauty, not desire of growth. For in the one case you develop in the luxuriancy of purity, in the other you harden by the forcible passion for personal stature. Desire only that which is within you. Desire only that which is beyond you. Desire only that which is unattainable. For within you is the light of the world, the only light that can be shed upon the path. For the next week is a reverence for life and nature. As mentioned, everyone is invited to join us in our weekly gatherings here in Washington D.C. You can also listen to the recordings of these talks on YouTube and leave comments, which are always welcome. Thank you.
Good morning, friends, and welcome. Today's talk on the Theosophical New Year. This past Wednesday marked the Theosophical New Year. Let no one mistake the importance and potency of numbers as symbols, said HPB. For ages, the 4th of January has been sacred to Mercury-Budha, who is credited with adding brains to the heads of those who are civil to him. So the esotericists especially combined everything and said January 4 is a festival to be held by those who study the ancient wisdom. We heard about the winter solstice that started December 21 in our December 25 Christmas talk on the season of regeneration. On this past Wednesday, January 4, the Earth was closest to the visible sun as it arches and goes northward. In contrast with January 4, January 1 is known as the day of Januarius, or Janus, the double-faced god of time servers. One face of Janus is turned regretfully toward the past, and the other stares hopefully into the future. Modern New Year festivals have their roots in the pagans, as do virtually all of our holy days. The return of the sun at the beginning of the year brings revivifying influences to all kingdoms of nature. These influences touch the inner life of all forms and give a renewed impetus to expansion and growth. Everything in nature has its rhythmic, harmonious movement, and the skillful worker meticulously works with the law. What we do, experiences we have, undertakings we may engage in, all depend for fruition upon some phase of the universal law of periodicity. For best results, the gardener must plant and harvest his crops according to the natural seasons of the year. Even efforts to improve the mind by study require the cooperative movement of cycles, just as truly as the casting of seeds in spring do. Within the meaning of the word periodicity is that whatever the waters of life wash up to one's feet is but the commensurate return of what the individual has sent out. To work constructively with a law, to align one's energies with the creative tides of nature, man must be able to calculate his position in relation to each cycle. Ignorance of the meaning and the times of the cycles leads to defeat. Natural science investigators have confirmed the theosophical doctrine of periodicity. I'll write that down. By accumulating vast amounts of evidence showing that events move in cycles, the scientists say. But science as a whole has cut itself off from fields of experience beyond the physical. Although forward-thinking scientists continue to push the boundaries of mainstream science to acknowledge the foundation underlying the physical world. Two such scientists are cited in the Secret Doctrine. They believe that every thought displacing the particles of the brain and setting them in motion scatters them throughout the universe. They think that each particle of the existing matter must be a register of all that has happened. So the ancient doctrine transmitted to us by H.P. Blavatsky has begun, if ever so slowly, to acquire rights of citizenship in the speculations of the scientific world. Theosophy, on the other hand, has always begun with soul. The ancients knew that the winter solstice brings a new and fresh vigor to all channels of life, from within outwards, which gradually strengthens as the sun moves nearer. Being aware of this fact and realizing that life is one through all its manifestations, the ancients took advantage of the birth of the year to reaffirm their aspirations. HPB wrote, "Let no one imagine that it is mere fancy, the attaching of importance to the birth of the year. The earth passes through its phases and man with it. And as a day can be colored, so can a year. The astral life of the earth is young and strong between Christmas and Easter," she wrote. "Those who form their wishes now will have added strength to fulfill them consistently." End of quote. So those who make resolutions and send New Year's greetings with all this in mind can look back upon their successes and failures of the past year and resolve to make more strenuous efforts to the goal of self-knowledge and unselfish effort. Students of this lodge have this goal in the forefront as they study, apply, and repromulgate genuine theosophy. We continue to draw attention to the fact that there is a complete body of knowledge brought to the world by HPB and named by her Theosophy. As a matter of justice to the message and gratitude to the messenger, we have put forward that only that which she gave and so named should be entitled to the name Theosophy. To conserve the message of Theosophy in its purity and is our earnest endeavor. There are many reasons for this, a key one being that HPB's attest is the only visible means by which the genuine may be distinguished from the counterfeit. UFT students have repeatedly called attention to the fact that without a recognition of the existence of masters of wisdom, there is no reason for the existence of the body of knowledge transmitted by HPB. This said, we do not deify or follow a person. We simply recognize a fact and govern ourselves accordingly. Knowing the cycle is coming and being prepared, students of true occultism may benefit deeply by the influx of spiritual energy. Whatever one's life motive may be, whether good or evil, the tides of great impersonal cycles multiply it 100-fold. Nothing can be done against cycles, said Mr. Judge, but a whole lot can be done in them. Man must learn to so poise himself that he possesses the power to live on the crest of each wave of life. Mr. Judge uses an allegorical umbrella held between mankind and the spiritual sun, which is behind the visible sun, to make visible the idea that adepts and elder brothers of the human race modify and transmit these spiritual forces that are beyond our present power of assimilation. The handle of the umbrella is placed in every person's hand, thus underscoring the faith placed in us by our teachers, who act with the implicit belief that the final authority is in the man himself. So this is a good time of the year to look back to our teachers in gratitude and to look forward to our opportunity to carry on with the great work of those masters who are with us always and who come before us in body from time to time. It is a time to be uplifted by their message and to gain confidence that we all have it within ourselves to be increasingly like them as we help others and learn to better benefit mankind. Especially during this season, it is for each of us to sense his spiritual powers. We all have them. To feel the beneficence of the teacher's presence, and to look with them into the principles of thanks. It may be that once the allegorical umbrella idea is grasped, all our changing days, by the light of the spiritual sun, will be allegorical New Years, each with its birth vision of the possibilities of the cycle. This is indeed a good time to make resolutions, because all that we desire to do has a greater impulsion than at some other time of the year. The turning of this annual cycle is an event like every other event in time, which has deep occult significance. Problem is that we have difficulty endeavoring to carry out resolutions of any kind. Our first mistake is to make negative resolutions. We say, I will not lie, or I will not do this or that or the other. The proper resolve to make is that I will do the opposite of what I am now doing. A positive resolution makes a direct affirmation of will. Perhaps we have thought that because we don't do a number of questionable things, we are good. but really we are merely not bad. A negative position to be in. True goodness is a positive position. To effect our resolutions, we must call on the will of man. That is not restrained by any form of obstacle. And not just the kind of will known as a strong desire to gain one's end, but also a mental phase of the will which can be cultivated by practice, the fixed attention or concentration in certain directions. Concentration in certain directions capable of affecting desired results. The real and true will is known as the spiritual will. This will flies like light and cuts all obstacles like a sharp sword. It is that will proceeding from our highest spiritual natures which causes man to be an evolution from within outward. All powers that exist or can exist are latent, however ill expressed in the spiritual nature. We draw from it in degree, but in small degree, because most of us are so fixed on physical existence that only token attention at best is paid to spiritual perception. We were once conscious of our spiritual nature, but as we came down through the planes of matter to this plane, we made a growth in intellectuality at the expense of spiritual perception. With our intellect, we always reason from premises to conclusions, whereas the spiritual nature has the power to direct cognition of the nature of things. If we're going to realize our own natures, we must begin at the highest point of our nature, by assuming that it is and by holding to the power of that assumption. We begin to see light by the very information of the spiritual nature. We are always using our will along the lines of our likes and dislikes. What is most necessary for us is a proper basis for our thinking. We need to eject the false idea of our being weak, sinful creatures because we were born that way. We need to eject the mental idol of an outside creator. We need to understand the purpose of life, to see that we are the product of many of our own prior lives, and to recognize our evolution under law, a law both true and merciful, which operates everywhere. It is because that law operates in a round of impression that we have the tendency each year to make New Year's resolutions. We could, by an understanding of and using this law of recurrence, bring into effect these resolutions. We have our own pet theories, our religious philosophies, because they conform to our desires, not because they conform to truth, or that they are an explanation of all the mysteries we see about us. That is why, after so many thousands of years of what we call civilization, we have become none the wiser, still moving in the same old treadmill of life and death and sorrow and suffering and pain. Yet we are not bound to do that, save that we bind ourselves by our own thoughts and actions. We are not under the necessity of following along these lines and planes of error as we are now doing. We can get out of that. There does remain a chance for us if we understand our own natures. So let's resolve to know, to think, to do right, resolve to acquire some of the ancient knowledge that has always existed. The knowledge of a man as a spiritual being through all his fluctuations in the realm of matter. As we rely more and more on the self within, we begin to express and use power which we already have. And that is far more than we imagine. We have to help ourselves by taking these suggestions already given in the teachings of the ancient wisdom we know as Theosophy. And then, as the sustaining power of the will is held along the line in which we desire to do, more direct help comes from those older brothers who are at every hour of every day willing and anxious to meet those clear-eyed enough to see their true destiny and noble-hearted enough to work for the great orphan, humanity. The occult future of 2017 and beyond is concealed in the exoteric past of 2016 and its preceding years. Man in this dark cycle is denied as a collective whole the faculty of foresight. During this dark age of materialism, we act as either ants laying by provisions of old age, or as grasshoppers in a perpetual buzz and summer song. The selfish care of the one and the utter recklessness of the other make both disregard and often remain entirely ignorant of any serious duty toward humankind. Most love, but too many care nothing for the future of the races of the world, nor will they give a thought, if they can help it, to postmortem life. When they think about death, it is generally about the glories of heaven or the asbestos of hell. Happy are those warriors by whom death is regarded as a tender and merciful mother. She rocks her sick children into sweet sleep on her cold, soft bosom, but to awake them a moment after, healed of all ailing, happy, and with a tenfold reward for every bitter sigh or tear. And the degree to which the state depends for its political, commercial, and social well-being and prosperity, not upon a moral but a mechanical basis, to that degree is its foundation perilous. Great nations have lost their ideals, their citizens succumb to degrading compromise, their aspirations turn to brazen lust for power. We must learn once and for all that the ideas and ideals of an age select its leader, be he Caesar or Christ. That the cloister teacher, the clever author, the impassioned pamphleteer are the real rulers who provide the ideas that rule the lives of all the rest. It is assuredly a crime to murder a human being, but what of those who have murdered the idea of immorality, of duty, of self-discipline? Who is more to blame, the trained partisan, who blends in irresponsibility with passion, whose plausible arguments omit facts, or the fanatical psychic who accepts the arguments, weaving them into dogmas of hate and destruction, or the sheep who follow, some eager, some reluctant? Theosophy is concerned with the era of ideas, not of men. Men will straighten out if they get the right philosophy. So long as we incarnate by restraint and not through will, so long will we participate in the false idea which, in its mere ugly effects, so horrifies us today. It is the heresy of separateness. The individual must learn to identify himself with collective humanity only through the martyrdom of self-conscious existence. That's what we're here for. The suffering pilgrim must see in himself not only the virtues and glory, but the woes, sins, and failings of all mankind. The cycles of nature keep to their courses, and in the fullness of time the year is born, with or without man's yea or nay. But saviors of the world are born by will. The cycle of the Buddha is begun by himself, bringing to birth a new age to all the world. To dare, to will, to achieve and keep silent is the motto of the truth occultist. So in conclusion, every person is endowed with a magnetic potentiality which, when helped by an intense and indomitable will, is the most effective of magnetic levers placed by nature in human hands. May all of us then send a sincere greeting and a wish of good luck for the new year to every living creature under the sun. And may we try and feel especially kindly and forgiving to our foes and persecutors as we wish all a happy new year. Thank you for listening. I'll open to the floor for questions and comments. Comment? Question?
Well, we make these resolutions during this period, and your comment was that they're not successful. Can you please explain it a little bit more in detail as to why that is so?
Because I think we have this inner feeling that we need to do certain things. And the beginning of the year, at the crest of the cycle, we realize that we need to, it's tradition to make a New Year's resolution. So we go ahead and do it. I'm going to do whatever. But we have to have the desire to carry that out, the genuine desire. So when we make that New Year's resolution, too often flippantly, the next day the pressures of the material world, we get immersed in that, and we the idea that we express so well in that resolution goes by the wayside, and then we get discouraged because we didn't do it whenever we thought we were going to do it, and we forget about it. Next year rolls around and not much has happened, and so we do it again.
Well, you put on the board that our resolution has to be a positive resolution. What's the difference between a positive resolution and a negative one?
When you say you'll not do something, okay, that is a negative resolution. I won't use bad language anymore, or I won't do this, or I won't do that. That's a negative. A positive is that I will do whatever. I will I will be a better person. I think that was a big increase this year over last year in the popular resolutions. But then you have to break that down into steps, workable steps. It's not just not just enough to do a broad thing like that. But I will do this, I will do that, I will do the other thing. Okay, and everything leading to what you define yourself to be as a better person. So it's a positive rather than a negative.
To call a follow up on it, are the virtues in this list?
Of course, the virtues are all positive. Love, charity, immortal.
Well, saying
what
it
you're talking
doesn't
about?
bring it about. How do you go
Absolutely
about
not.
bringing it about?
Where is that indomitable will? The will, whatever is there, it is. There it is. That's spiritual will, indomitable will. You have to resolve to do it, and stay with that resolution all the time. And you're going to fall all the time too. And it's when you fall, and you get back up and try it again immediately. Recognize that you need to get back up and keep going. But it's got to stay in the forefront. That list of parameters. And we have to work on every one of them all the time. If that's what you're trying to do.
You have said that we have to have a genuine desire to make the resolution successful, to paraphrase.
Yeah.
What's the source of that genuine desire? What's the principle in our nature that is at the foundation of genuine desire?
That inner voice, often called conscience, that says, I need to do these things. I need to do this. That indomitable will, which is another way of saying that too. It's a desire put into action through sustained effort. We can quit a little early today since we have other activities going on in a while, or we can continue on if we have any more questions. Okay, with that we'll conclude for today. Next week, please join us. The title next week was Reverence for Life and Nature. Thank you for joining us.